Okay. So may I start?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, so I'm pleased tonight to make a presentation about a reliable and ethical network. The first picture is the picture I took last Saturday on the occasion of a governor evening. I was invited at gathering all the presidents of the various clubs of the Indian Ocean. So, I will talk about why playing it alone is a tricky strategy, past experiences in Cameroon and Madagascar, what long-time expatriates expect from newcomers, ethical, reliable, why does it matter, implementing a safe and winning strategy, and why Rotarian values match the above statements, and to conclude, discussion with the other members, okay? So what I say, from time immemorial, man has owed his survival to his gregarious behavior. In French, the adage, l'union fait la force, unity is strength, illustrates this primal human behavior. There are associations for the basic survival of the individual, as I will discuss below, and strategies for adapting to a new environment for newcomers, including the right tools to join networks, such as expat in Plovdiv, because the tool of the co-president Graham Turnbull, was a very efficient tool for me to know what to do to obtain, for instance, my long-term residence permit. And another opportunity when you are a newcomer in Plovdiv, for instance, is to join a Rotary club if you're accepted, because you can partner with other members and learn so many things that you couldn't learn on your own. So the fact of associating with others, if it meets, first of all, a survival strategy, must in a more elaborate society with a long-term vision be based on ethical principles, okay? Because it's like wolves, in the wild, in wild nature, if we are educated and if we understand that life is not only a struggle, we must have principles to regulate, our actions. And the Rotarian is a perfect illustration of we can club with other people, we can partner without being wolves, okay? Our purpose is to unite our strengths, but respecting other people's. So why is going it alone a high-risk strategy? So excessive self-assurance and the religion of certainty can endanger the adventurer when confronted with a new environment. So it means if you think you know everything, you are in danger, because it's difficult to master everything, to know everything on your own, especially when you are in a new environment. The perception of a new environment is often distorted by habits and references. For instance, the problem I had in a taxi was due to the fact that my knowledge was still based on how peaceful it is in Bulgaria. And I was not fully aware of the risk I was running in the taxi when I was attacked, because in Bulgaria, it would never happen. So the ethnocentric approach is perilous. You will understand below why I made a big mistake by keeping my references of a quiet life in Plovdiv, as I said, okay? This is a difference in a way between the wild wolf and the domesticated dog, okay? Dependent on its master for its food, which can no longer ensure its subsistence. So my past experience in Cameroon and Madagascar, I will try to be fast. I won't spend that much time, about what happened in Cameroon, because it was a long time ago. It was the only thing is in the plane, I was with a constable, a French constable, retired, and he said, you will come with me, my chauffeur will come and pick you up. And I lost the man. And when I got out of the terminal, I was surrounded by 4 guys who took my suitcase. And they said if I wanted my suitcase back, I had to give them 100 euros, which was a lot. And after 30 minutes, I negotiated. And, I could manage to get my suitcase back for 10 euros. But, I was lucky because I learned a story about a Belgian guy who was angry about that. And in the end, he was stabbed to death, and it could have happened to me as well, So then I'm going to be a bit fast about this because, there are more recent experiences I went through, I came through. So the first time I was in Madagascar in 2006, I wanted to go to a bus station. You know, when I say bus station, you know, it's not like the same bus station as in Plovdiv. You know, it's more a minibus that connects several cities in Madagascar. And the minibuses are overcrowded with Malagasy people. Lucky us, they are not big guys or big women, so. But very often they stick 25 people in a minibus, you know. And the roads are awful, you know. It takes, for instance, 4 hours and a half for 160 kilometers. So when I arrive at the bus station, you know, Gare des Taxi Brousse, we call it Taxi Brousse, you know, Brousse is a jungle, more or less. It's a minibus whose purpose is to travel through the jungle. So some men rushed at my taxi to open the door. And I thought it was an aggression because it was very similar to an aggression. And I asked the taxi driver to turn back immediately, you know, to go back to where I came from because I thought I was going to be assaulted. Later on, you know, when I spoke with expatriates, they told me that it was not, they didn't want to assault me. They just wanted to bring me to the cooperatives they worked for, because these bus companies, they are operated through cooperatives, and there is a big competition to have clients, you know, travel with them. And in fact, they didn't want to attack me or assault me, but they just wanted me to travel with them. And and very often, you know, when I speak with my students at the University of Le Havre, even online, I say the map is not the territory. And this is the danger of being too academic. When you are too academic, when you are a professor in the university with no practical experience, you think that life is everything you read and you learn in books. No, books are the map, you know, and the territory is when you are attacked in a taxi, you know, you understand. The map is what you read about Madagascar, and the territory is when you are assaulted in a taxi, you know. So I think it's much better to rely on experience and what other people experience. So, you know, of course, the most recent incident is when I was assaulted. You know, I was on my way to join a Rotary club, the first Rotary club I wanted to visit, and it was 6 p.m. It was dark, and I was in a taxi, and I was sending messages in the back of the taxi, thinking that I was not in danger. You understand? Because you are inside the taxi, and there was a traffic jam, and my taxi was idle for maybe 15 minutes. And a guy saw me, maybe from outside, a thief, you know, he saw me, and he got his arms through the window and opened the door, the back door, and snatched, you know, my smartphone. And, you know, I was so much surprised, you know, that it took me 5, 6, 7 to react. Then I tried to chase him, you know, but it was dark, there were cars coming in, it was becoming dangerous, and, you know, he lost a shoe, and I couldn't manage to grasp him, you know, so that was the last incident, you know, I experienced. I was very much shocked, you know, and when I arrived at the Rotary meeting place, at a hotel, I left a message for the members to tell them that I could not attend because I was so shocked. And the people at the Havana hotel, where the members, the Rotary Club members joined, they allowed me to phone, and I phoned my friend here at the hotel I'm staying. He's French, his wife is from Madagascar. And they were very kind to spend 2 hours with me when I was back, because I was so shocked, I can tell you. I thought at this time it was a nonsense. I had decided to relocate to Madagascar, that it was too comfortable to be in Plovdiv. And I said, maybe I'm stupid enough, you know, to have left Bulgaria to go here. But it didn't last, you know. The next day, I recovered from the incident. And thanks to my friend, and thanks to other Rotarians who phoned me, to know what I felt, and that's why I say it's very important to be able to rely on an ethical network a network you can trust. And you know, a Rotary network, a Rotary club is a club you can trust, because you are not invited to join the Rotary if you have not some values, you understand? And of course, Karel, when I submitted, you know, my first presentation before the incident of the 2nd of June, I would have never thought I would update this evening's presentation, you know, because you never can tell, you know, what the future holds for you. But, you know, in every difficult situation, sometimes you can get something good out of that. You know, I could check how much I could trust my friends here, the people I could rely on, you know, and it was a stress test, I would say, you know, to check who I could rely, you know, on who I could trust. So why do expatriates expect from newcomers? You know, when you are a newcomer and you meet new expatriates who've been here for a long time, they try to check whether you can be trusted or not. Because the people living here, they know it's important to have a network of reliable people, because it's your life assurance. Don't think the French embassy will help you, you know. Most of the time, there are spoiled people sent from by France to, you know, they are civil servants, you know. It's I don't think they have skin in the game, you know. So it's much better to trust the expatriates or the Rotarians if you are in difficulty, you know. So you know, I tried to in 2019, when I did the mission, 2 months mission, to find a Malagasy partner for a French company, I took advantage of asking people who have been here for a long time, and even a guy who was in Diego with his wife, pregnant. He was attacked in the middle of the night, and he had to shoot at the people who tried to kill them, you know, and rob them. And so it's a kind of thing you experience, and it's nothing similar in Plovdiv, you know. You don't have to defend your life in the middle of the night. It's much more quiet. You know, all the expatriates or the residents here, when you are a newcomer, they try to measure how reliable you are. So that's what I said before. You know, I think it's much better to rely on a group of people you trust, you have checked, you know, whether they're, you know, mind you, you have to be careful. Even some French people here, they are adventurers and they are not to be trusted, because they are not reliable at all, and they are even crooks, because it's a country that attracts adventurers. And it's not because the people are French, they will be your friends. You know, you have to be careful. Not everyone is to be trusted. So I helped my friend here, you know, Manu, when one evening I visited them because I was not staying at the hotel, but when I arrived, his wife told me that he was arguing with clients because he had just found drug hidden in some few rooms. And so I took advantage. I had a good connection with a Frenchman here who was in charge of security in the Indian Ocean, and I called him, and then he threatened the other people to send an intervention team squad, you know, to arrest the people in the hotel, and they just escaped, flew away. And so it was my opportunity to show my friend Manuel that anytime I knew someone who was in danger, that I could do my best to help, you know. And that's very much appreciated by the people here, when you show that you can be trusted, because anytime there is someone in danger here, you do your best to help him. And that's also close to the Rotarian values. So, however, being a Rotarian is somewhat a life assurance, I think, or insurance and assurance of finding friends wherever we go to. And it's something I've realized here. The key to this community is the values of the Rotary, okay? And what are our values? Integrity, diversity, service, leadership, and fellowship. And you know, that I think that's very, very important. And these principles reflect our core values. They guide us in our actions. They are the passport we may use wherever we go to. So ethics and reliability, why is it important? Why is this important? Not all means are allowed, okay? Joining forces with others should never contribute to the creation of pressure groups, lobbies, and cartels, you know, to take power over others. While joining with others is a good feeling and deeply rooted in human behavior, fundamental ethical values must guide this approach. And I think uniting, clubbing, partnering with other people is all right, as long as you stick to very important humanitarian values, and you never unite your strengths to take power over other people. That's what I like in the Rotarian. You know, in Antananarivo at Rotary Club, the motto is servir pour changer des vies. Their motto is serve to change lives. And they do it, you know. They implement that. It's not only a motto. Serve to change lives, they do it. And I will illustrate that later on. Implementing a safe and winning strategy. So what is the effective strategy to implement when faced with a new environment? When you have to relocate somewhere to an environment which is not as comfortable as Bulgaria, I can tell you. So after questioning some expatriates I met in Antananarivo, the capital of Madagascar, and who had traveled to other countries as well. They told me, Jean-Marie, for instance, he commutes from Madagascar to Brazil. It tells me that it is essential when you come to settle in a country, whether it is for the medium or long term, to develop a network of relations so that, you know, complements, you know, what I said before. Belonging to Rotary clubs, especially if you are a consultant, for example, allows you to obtain contracts, but not only. The purpose of being a Rotarian is not to make business, even if you may do it sometimes and help other fellows, but it's also to benefit from the precious advice of those who've already been there for a long time, you know, to avoid common mistakes. And to share common values, you know, that's very important, okay? Because when you relocate to a very different environment, you realize that you're no longer at home, and you must stick to as much as you can to humanitarian values, because otherwise it's like your compass. You must keep your compass inside yourself, and your compass can be inspired by, maybe if you believe in God or whatever, whoever is try to remain a good guy, you know, and the rest, you know, will follow. So what is Jean-Marie's strategy, the French guy I met? You see, he thinks that it is necessary to accept that the Malagasy people, the people from Madagascar, they have a different way of thinking, a different state of mind from a French and or Europeans in general. The most modest Malagasy are in a strategy of daily survival. There is a big difference here in Madagascar. In Madagascar, there are people to try to survive every day. And others who have a bit more money, they can think they have a long-term strategy, because they can afford having a long-term strategy. But some people here, they try to survive every day. So of course, it's not the same kind of thinking or approach. And so here, you know, in Madagascar, for instance, the Merinas, the Merns, as we say it, they were the first inhabitants of the island. They came from Indonesia, and the Malagasy language comes from Indonesian, you know. And they are the dominant class of the high plateau, as we say. And of course, you know, even if you remember, you know, Maslow's pyramid, I would say a good number of people here in Madagascar, they stick to immediate physiological needs, okay, and safety. And after that, you know, they can maybe afford the luxury of having love and affection, but self-actualization is rarely achieved by the people here in Madagascar because they just remain in the lower layers of Maslow's pyramid. Now, I mean, Jean-Marie also said it's a good opportunity maybe to go to the celebration organized by the French embassy on the 14th of July, you know, our national celebration day in France, for instance. I did it in 2019. It was the opportunity to meet several French people, but, you know, there were 2,000 guests, but most of them were Malagasy people because there are not so many French people there, you know. So here again, you can try to understand the country by having an academic approach. And now I'm reading a book that was written almost a century ago by a guy from Madagascar who studied in London. And the book has been written in English and translated into French by someone else. And it's also interesting to understand what was the story, the history of the island and how the several ethnic groups developed. But it is Madagascar of the past. It can be interesting to understand the present time by studying the past, but you know, things are changing so fast nowadays that it's much better to stick to what is going on now. Of course, you can join the French Institute. That is interesting. You meet other interesting people. And this week, in Saturday, I will meet with a retired French professor of a university. I will attend a conference about the importance of nanotechnologies for Madagascar. You know, and we will go there on Saturday morning. Sorry. So, of course, there are other events, such as at the Jazz Cafe in Plovdiv, where you can have the opportunity to meet other foreigners. And when I was in Plovdiv, I loved, I can say, all these intercultural workshops, great opportunities to meet other people from different cultures, different backgrounds, American, English, you know, Scottish and German and Bulgarian and you name it. You know, it was so much interesting to share with others. You know, with a great of respect and joy to share. You know, what we knew, who, where, and especially when I went to church. You know, on Sunday mornings with the service in English. And I miss the people, I miss Bulgaria as well, I can tell you. So what to do? You know, study people, probe them, be very open, but also suspicious. And you know, in Madagascar, you have to be suspicious because there are crooks as well, and you can become a victim. So there is a difference in behavior between the Malagasy and the French. A Malagasy would be quite basic, close to nature, not mental like some French. And I would even say, except for the Malagasy people who had the opportunity to study abroad, even the educated people here, if they haven't been given the opportunity to leave Madagascar, they stick to the present time. They are very close to nature and they have not the Cartesian approach if you compare with the French, for instance. What are the advantages of traveling and or living abroad in a different cultural environment? You can learn tolerance. You can become, you are open-minded. You do not behave with a colonial mindset. That is very important. Accept the characteristics of the local culture, and it is as it is, and adapt. Okay, so it is an undeniable asset to know the Malagasy language, and I'm learning now Malagasy language to show the desire to adapt to better understand the Malagasy people in the provinces. It's very important because in the provinces, you know, I would say it's a bit like in Plovdiv. If you cannot speak Malagasy language, people don't speak French in the province, you know, here in Madagascar, so you cannot manage. It's a bit like in some villages in Plovdiv, you know, I mean, not in Plovdiv, in Bulgaria, you know, if you cannot know a few sentences in Bulgarian, don't ask the people whether they speak English, you know, I'm afraid it won't work. So 15 days after my arrival, I felt a certain irritation in the street. You know, I felt stressed because there are street vendors on your back, you know, always asking for vanilla, good price, taxi, exchange, good price. And if you walks 30 minutes during the day, you have 50, 60 occasions of people asking you the same things, repeating it 3 times as if you were stupid enough not to have understood, you know, and sometimes it's a bit irritating and frustrating. Something you will never experience in Plovdiv, okay? So the fact that I had a busy schedule, setting up a company, formalities, you know, it added to the stress, of course. And so I answered a few times, you know, a bit curtly, you know, and I came to the following conclusion. I said, did I really want to stay in Madagascar or go back to Plovdiv? Because there was a time, I can tell you, 3 weeks ago, especially after I was attacked in the taxi, I was a bit, it was too much for me, too much stress, too much in comparison with Bulgaria, you know. And but after that, you know, I said, I still love the country. And this is a picture I took when I first came to Madagascar. And, you know, it's like when you fall in love with someone. Sometimes you try to explain why you fell in love with this person, but they are not rational explanation. You just like it, you know. This picture illustrates why I love the country, because it's a simplicity, you know. It's what I like. The people here, they have difficult lives, you know, they struggle, but they rarely complain like the French, you know, they rarely complain. They try to adapt, they try to survive, they struggle. And I was very much impressed, you know, by their qualities. And of course, the street vendors, even they try to, you think they harass you, but they try to survive as well. And they think you are a rich man because you are what they call a foreigner, a vaza, and they think you have the money in your pocket, and they just try to keep repeating several times the same thing because they think they, in the end, they will achieve in convincing you to buy something. So after this stress period, you know, I realized that I had chosen to come to this country, you know, and I had left my comfort zone. And at the same time, it was the opportunity for me to evolve, you know, to accept the others as they are, you know, and to learn something about me, you know. It's a bit like a story about old couples, you know, after a time when you've been living with someone for 10, 20 years, you accept his traits, the fact that he snores at night or whatever, you know, because in the end, you know, it's a bit like, you know, I come from a city in Le Havre, which is there is a beach with pebbles, you know, it's not only sand. And, you know, there is this idea that pebbles, you know, they are smooth because they are, after a time, you know, the sea, you know, rolls over the pebbles and the asperities go away. And then after, the pebbles, they are quite harmonious, you know, round shaped. And I think if you live with other people and if you accept them as they are, you know, it's a bit like pebbles, you know. So this is why I think the Rotary Club and its values are an interesting and useful way to undertake this process. So this is a picture I show you, I took in 2006, but you know, in 2022, it's still the same picture because the taxi booths, the buses haven't changed a lot, and the people, the children are barefoot trying to sell you something.
Patrick, can
yes?
you share your screen with the pictures you took? Because we don't see that.
You don't see this, okay. How can I do to share the screen?
You go at the bottom, you see the green button, share. You select
Écran partagé, okay, I will share.
Partager, and
okay,
then you select the screen you want to show.
Can you see my screen?
Yes, you can see it.
Okay. Okay, so sorry, I should have checked that with you before. So this is what I show you is a picture I took in 2006 when I went from the capital to Antsirabe, which is distant from 160 kilometers, but it takes 4 hours and a half because the road is very bad condition, you know, very bad. And sometimes there are people here that spend 2 days and a half traveling from the north to the south, you know, and they are very courageous because it's very, very tiring. Of course, if you have more money, you can fly. But so why are the values of the Rotarians in adequacy with what have just been exposed. Indeed, the values of the international Rotary clubs are integrity, diversity, service to others, and especially to the neediest, leadership, fellowship, and friendship among people across cultural differences. The principles of the Rotary Club, which are at the heart of the organization, reflect our fundamental values. They are meant to be universal and cross borders. These values guide actions. They are the compass, the course towards which we aim at. After meeting local Rotarians in Madagascar, I realized that these values are kind of universal, language around common, shared, and agreed values. Since then, I have visited Rotary Club Antananarivo, Maroloko, and I was invited last Saturday at the governance evening for the district of Madagascar, where all presidents of various clubs attended, plus a few guests, including me. And the picture you're going to see, it's a surgeon, he's a Rotarian, and he did a very impressive mission because they managed to give the opportunity to 256 poor people in Madagascar to be operated, and with serious operation, and with a budget of 7,500, representing 30 euros per patient, they could feed these people during the operation and so on, because some people, they are so poor, they can only travel to the place, and they cannot afford to stay at a place, to sleep at a hotel and so on. And I think I was so much impressed because this guy, is a famous surgeon. He could only be selfish, and concentrate on becoming richer and richer because he's a good, reputed surgeon. But he managed, to spend so many hours operating several poor people. And I saw the picture. I have not posted all the pictures, but I saw the pictures of the people before being operated, children, with a split mouth and so on, with terrible wounds, and how it changed the lives of these people. And, this is what I really love here in this country. There are people who are clever, they have gifts, they have talents, but they are not selfish. They do their best to give a part of their time to help the others. I'm not going to read everything, but I'm just summarizing, but I was very much impressed, and I think it almost brought us to tears, how emotional it was. And it was so beautiful how all these Rotarians united to give the opportunity to 256 people who would have been condemned not to be operated, to change their lives. And so that was something. But there are also people around my table, last Saturday, who told me about how they can provide local people here, children with education, providing them with a meal, because there are some children, they don't eat every day, you understand? So they provide them with a meal at least once a day, and they educate them to have the level of what they call here certificat d'études, so the equivalent of a certificate of education you get when you are 14. And to conclude, my encounter with the Rotary, and more particularly with Plovdiv Rotary Club, was for me the opportunity to continue in a less solitary way the quest that has been mine for several years. Wanting to do the best for those in need will never be as efficient as when it is done with other Rotarian fellows. Adapting to a new environment is also an opportunity to bring the best of one's talents to the locals. And that's everything I want to say about my experience here. And the French in general talk a lot. I hope I didn't talk too much. And I must be quiet now and invite you to give me your thought, your reflection, and about your experience.
Thank you very much, Patrick. I'm still surprised that, wait, I will try to turn the camera a bit so that you see who is talking. I'm still surprised that after all these years, things in Africa or near Africa quite the same. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Yes.
So I was in Africa 27 years ago.
Yeah.
Stayed there for quite some time, and the things that you say is like a déjà vu.
Yeah,
Déjà
sure.
vu means, I've been through that as well. I was young at that time. I was kidnapped there as well by a gang. And I had my connection with the local militia from Mobutu at the time. And it's this connection with the local militia that got me freed in the end.
Mm.
So that's something that's very important in Africa, that you have to have indeed the good connections in case something goes wrong, that you can you can rely on these people. The theft in the cars, I've had that as well, with that difference that I was able to knock him, and you lost your smartphone, but I kept all my belongings. The airport incident, I bought also my luggage back. So I think I paid 10 or 20 US dollars, I can't remember. Yeah. So there's a lot of things that I see in 27 years' time have not changed. You know, there is also the other thing, because that you did not address, business doing in Africa. I remember at that time, I will first say it in French and then I will translate it in English. I was complaining that the guys for a rendezvous, I had a meeting, were never on time. And I got as a reply, Monsieur, les Européens ont le montre, les Africains ont le ton.
It's so right, right.
Mister, the Europeans have a watch, but the Africans have the time. So for me, it's a bit surprising to see that these things are coming back after all these years. So and at the same time, it confirms also the experience that throughout the years, they remain similar. And I will ask a question as well. What was your the real reason that you went to Madagascar, in fact? Because you knew your comfort zone, as you said, yes, Bulgaria. Bulgaria is a very safe place. It's organized. I mean, compared to many other countries, maybe not that organized, but it's much more organized than other countries. So why the step moving from a safe harbor like Europe, like Bulgaria, and then move to the far west in Africa? Because
my children, I've done my best so that my children have a good education. I paid for that. They are independent. They have an excellent job. I want to do something out of my life and to give meaning to my life. And I think, you know, in the Bible, you say, Jesus asked, what did you do with your talents? I think I want to do something for the people here, because there are some people here who deserve being helped.
Yep.
And to give your hand to help them, because they are good people. Of course, there are crooks here. There was these thieves that attacked me, you know, assaulted me, but it's not the majority of people. And it's not because there is a handful number of people who are dangerous for you that it is the rule. There are people who are nice guys and they try to survive. They try to struggle. And I think with everything I know in my life, with my talents, I can have a meaningful life now. If I do something, I will be more useful here than in France, of course, because in France, I'm afraid there is not much to be done now. It's over. In Bulgaria, of course, I could have stayed in Bulgaria. It was comfortable. But would it have been, you know, I think my life mission is not to live a comfortable life. I think I'm convinced about that. Is to evolve, is to learn lessons. And even if sometimes it's a bit painful, you know, I shouldn't say convinced, because it's very arrogant to say you're convinced. I feel inside that it's my mission to be here.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much for that clarification. Any questions from anyone else here?
No. Can you say that the people in Madagascar are people with tradition? They are not changed their life every year.
Yes. So did you hear that, Patrick?
Yeah, it's a bit, if you can repeat, because it
So
was
Angel said that it's obvious that you're living in a country with people that have traditions and do not
Sure.
necessarily evolve in the same way that we are.
Yes, you have to be careful not to contradict them and not to offend them, because there is a word in Malagasy that says fadi, F-A-D-Y, it means taboo. And you have to be very careful when you do something to ensure that you are not in contradiction with the local traditions. It's very important.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah, I'd just like to say it's a very admirable sort of target that you've got in helping the local people there. I mean, obviously, as Rotarians, we want to do that as much as we can, but in those type of conditions, it's even harder, isn't it? So I'm really sort of, I've got a lot of admiration for what you're doing.
You know, I think here it's, I wouldn't say it's an easy environment here, but because it's not that easy, it's also the opportunity to see and realize there are people who are really brothers and fellows that do want to help you. And we would never experience such great human experiences if we were living in a too comfortable environment. You understand? This is the advantage of living in a difficult environment, because the meat, I mean, here in this country, the worst meets the best. You understand? And it's not half, you know, it's, and I think, of course, sometimes it's a bit tiring, it's a bit difficult, but I would have never had the opportunity to live, experience such beautiful encounters with people with great values. And I think this is a price to pay to live an interesting life.
Okay. Any question from Svetoslav? Svetoslav? No. Dimitar, any question you would like to ask to Patrick?
No.
Okay. So, Patrick, thank you very much for your presentation. As I said, I will later on upload this recording also to the club website. And if you're okay, we'll also share the document that you have prepared. Okay?
Yeah, okay.
Thank you very much, Patrick.
Thank you again for listening to me. I hope I haven't been too long.
No.